Thank you for joining us on Local Pulse. Today, we feature another aspiring candidate for Livingstone Constituency, Evans Fenete. If you've been to Livingstone or live in Livingstone and have been to Limpos, and if you're wondering who is behind that, that's the person we'll be talking to today. We would like to know more about him, and I'm grateful that you could join us today.
Thank you very much, Maindaluvi.
So I would like to know more about you, not just me actually. I'm sure the people that are watching would like to know more about you.
Thank you very much for this time. Like I've said, my full names are Evans Fenete. I'm the third born of the family of 6, born out of Mr. Peter and Anna Maluza Fenete. I was born here in Livingstone, in Maramba, and I started my school at Livuyu Primary. From there I went to Nansanzu, then I went to Linda Secondary, where I completed my grade 12. Having been brought up in Linda, I grew up a person who was a marketeer, a person who was selling at the market, selling chickens, salaola, even also having been a taxi driver within Livingstone. My father was a teacher at Palm Grove, as well as Livuyu and many other schools in Livingstone, and he retired as a headmaster. Therefore, my mom used to work for the council. She was a cashier at a certain time at the swimming pool. By those old days when the swimming pool was working, yes, the council swimming pool.
That's the one near Zimbabwe Market.
Yes, and then from there worked at the Civic Center as well as Department of Engineering, and she also retired. Currently, they are both living within Livingstone in Dambwa North. When I completed my school at Linda, I went to the institute where I did automotive mechanics. Then later on...
Is that Livingstone?
You now call it Libes.
Libes, yes.
For us, it was Livingstone Trades Training Institute, where I did automotive mechanics for 2 years and obtained a craft certificate. Then I joined the Zambia Police in 1999-2000, where I trained as a police officer. From there, within the police, immediately I finished my course. Our training as a police, I was again deployed back to Livingstone. So I was posted to Livuyu Police. You remember I said that's where I started my grade 1. So the moment I finished my training, again I was posted to Livuyu Police. That's where I was staying. From there on, I was transferred to Livingstone Central, which is Division Automotive Mechanics.
Transferred or promoted?
I was transferred first. From general duties to automotive mechanics. You remember, I'm a qualified mechanics by profession. Then from there, I changed the department to traffic department in 2004. Then from there on, I was promoted in 2005. Then in 2006, I left the country. I went to West Africa, that is Liberia.
On duty?
On duty. That I was there for 2 years under the United Nations organization. From there, I came back to Zambia, then worked in the same department, traffic, and I was also promoted. I am married with 3 kids, 3 lovely girls, and that was in 2005 that I got
So you got married after your deployment abroad?
I got married before the deployment.
Oh, before the
Immediately after the marriage, that was in December 2005. Then in January, 21st January 2006, I left the country for 2 years. You can imagine. Yeah.
So you left a new bride.
Yes. So I came back in 2007, 2008. And from there on, I continued as a police officer under the traffic department. I was transferred and promoted to Mazabuka as the in charge of traffic in Mazabuka. Then I was transferred again and promoted to Mansa, where I became the second in charge of traffic for Luapula province. Then I was transferred to Sesheke, where I was the in charge of traffic. Then again, I was transferred and promoted to Lusaka division, where I was the officer in charge traffic. That was in 2016. That's where I retired. And from there on, I've concentrated on my own things, that is my business and living with the community. Remember, as I've gone through all these transfers in the system, I was still an entrepreneur, and my family was still in Livingstone.
Okay.
Currently, I'm a director, a co-director with my wife for about 4 companies
Within Livingstone?
within Livingstone.
Okay.
So we are running a 5 Rivers farm,
Mm-hmm.
where we run dairy and beef, as well as other livestock.
Mm-hmm.
Then number 2, I'm the co-director for Limpos, which is the Limpos that we all know.
Where it cries.
Yeah, yes, and from there, Sambezi Junction Lodge, and then we have also Litach Logistics that looks into matters of transport within Livingstone.
Okay.
So basically, that is the short.
The short, but yeah, very rich history.
Yes.
So, in the case of Livingstone, what does development mean to you?
Development is a wide question, because when you look at development, you must understand the development you want to talk about, because each angle or on each sphere has to be developed. Now, when you ask about development in Livingstone, number 1 is that Livingstone is a very small area. Being born is good from here. I have seen, yes, development that has been there, but that the pace of the development has been not enough. Why? Probably because of the type of leadership that could have been there.
But before we even go there, the past few years, what would you say is a development that has occurred in Livingstone? Is there anything that you can point to that you'd say, okay, Livingstone has developed over the past few years?
If I say there haven't been development, that will not be true. There have been attributes of development, but the pace of development hasn't been as required.
How do you think the roles of the MP, the mayor, and the councillor have been played to determine the pace of development in Livingstone? Development from your eyes, that is.
It might have been there, but the development that is supposed to have been put with the MPs, the mayors, and everyone that is around is supposed to be more higher than what we have. Why do I say so? It's because probably there are elements that always come to say maybe development hasn't taken place because maybe of CDF, development hasn't taken place because of funding from government and so on. Development can take place when you use initiative as a community. As a community, there are many things that people would expect from leaders to do. And the biggest thing that people expect from every leader is for them to have food on the table. So as leaders in Livingstone, we or they are supposed to look at the cardinal things that people expect of them. You can actually build a very tall building, but if people do not have food on the table, then people would not call that as direct development towards them. So the type of development that was supposed to be done by the leaders in Livingstone is to find means and ways of creating employment, means and ways of creating ways which poverty and hunger
has that
can
not
be
been
reduced.
happening the past 5 years?
That hasn't been happening because if it has, then it is far. Why? Because we have the PF government that is governing now, and the mayor is from the UPND, the MP is from the UPND. And one thing that probably they have been doing, which is there, is that they have disengaged themselves from government activities, because much of the resources of the citizen is expected to be coming from where? From the government.
From the government.
But now when you don't sit on the table with the government in order to represent the community that you are representing, then how do you engage government in order for government to attend to the challenges that the community are facing? So what it has been with them is that they have disengaged themselves from where they are supposed to get things from.
In trying to understand the perceived disengagement, I'll call it perception now because I do not know for real. Are they not working well with the town clerk and with the structures within which their roles are supposed to be fulfilled? I'll give an example of the MP. If it's development in terms of resources, there's a constituency development fund. Is it an issue of not having been cooperative or with the government, or an issue of the Constituency Development Fund not being enough to undertake certain projects?
You see,
in context.
Yeah, in context, you know the challenges that government is facing are a lot. There are many MPs in Zambia. There are many mayors in Zambia. There are many councillors in Zambia. So meaning the government itself is looking at many challenges across the country. So meaning there are many people knocking for their challenges to be attended to. So if now, number one, we talk about the engagement, I still go back to the engagement. If you don't engage, meaning that the other person would engage and will be given a priority over that. Then the second part is on the angle of development. Yes, of course, we can say they sit into the council. You must also understand that even at the council, these are councillors that have to debate and have to agree on the decisions that are there.
Yes.
Then there are directors who are
Yes.
experts. So you'd find that sometimes directors would bring the proposals to the council. But if the council is not able to debate in the direction of the expertise of the directors there, you find that certain development space would not move as expected. Why? Because it is the one-sided angle of the people that have to pass what decisions. Then when we come to the member of parliament, because on development, the member of parliament has to engage ministries, has to engage non-governmental organizations. So it is the work of the MP is not only in parliament. He has to move around to lobby. He has to move around to look, to search for those areas which they can bring development in his or her area. So if the member of parliament is not engaging the ministries, is not engaging NGOs, is not engaging those, then we have the citizens or the community to do what? Not to receive what they expect in terms of development.
What is your relationship like with the incumbent member of parliament, the mayor, and the councillors, especially the councillor in your area of residence and where your businesses are?
The relationship is okay. These are the people that I've grown up with.
Okay.
These are the people that I've been with at school. So they are leaders, and they are leaders that I'm able to engage. They are leaders that I'm able to call. They are leaders that I'm able to talk to. So the relationship itself, on personal basis, they were people that I was talking to before they became mayors, they became councillors, they became members of parliament. For example, like Mr. Jerry, when he came to Livingstone, he found us in Livingstone. I think he came from Chipata, and we were at the same school. That was at Nansanzo. So he's a person that I've known from childhood level. So
is a relationship such that you can share the ideas that you have, that, you know, the role of the MP could be played better, or it's a no hands?
I think from the time that maybe he could have become a member of parliament, I think the distance of the relationship became bigger or wider. Probably maybe because of his responsibilities and so on. He's been a person probably busy and not available, I would say so.
Okay. But you've tried to reach out?
In the responsibility of the member of parliament, I think the member of parliament is supposed to engage the community.
The initiator?
Yes, to be the initiator.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say is your greatest motivation to want to stand as member of parliament? What really, really is motivating you to be member of parliament for Livingstone?
You see, having been born here, schooled here, I've gone into the communities and seen the levels of poverty in Livingstone, and seeing how Livingstone is rich, and that the resources that we have, they are being underutilized. This pains me so much, such that, yes, as a businessman, I could have reached a certain level where maybe I can have food on the table. But that doesn't mean that my aunt, my brother, and those people that are in the community have access to what I have. So from that pain, it's where now it pushes me in order to come in and get a role of a member of parliament, so that the resources that we have in Livingstone, we can be able to develop and make people push out hunger and poverty. So my motivation comes in when I go into the community and see that the level of poverty can be controlled if good leadership was put in place.
A lot of people are aspiring to become member of parliament for Livingstone. Why do you think you'd be the best candidate?
You see, that is a good question. Number one, when you are candidates that are aspiring across political parties, I think it's high time people in areas which they are in, but my interest is in Livingstone, that when you are looking for a member of parliament, you should go above party, you should go above personal relationship, but you should go in to look into a person that has the capacity or the ability to become a catalyst for development. Why I think I would be the best candidate, number one, is that I am born and bred in Livingstone. Okay? Number two, Livingstone is the community that I've grown up with, and I know the challenge in Livuyu, in sawmills, in Nakatindi, and all over Livingstone. If a person comes to me from Malota, I will know exactly what a person in Malota needs at a particular time. If you go in Ara section, I'll know it is water and toilets that are needed. If you go to sawmills, I know it's drainages. So I've grown up in Livingstone, schooled in Livingstone. The community of Livingstone is like my home. Therefore, I have been a person that, other than that, I've created employment in Livingstone by bringing up the businesses that I've put in place. And these businesses employ more than 250 people. And from these businesses, they have families that are connected to the people that are employed. So for every person that is employed, for example, out of 250, meaning we have 2,500 families dependent on what has been put into Livingstone as our investment. So now what I'm looking at now is that I am only looking to be, okay, I'm an aspiring candidate. What do I need? I need the power and not employment. So I need the people together with them so that we can put up the power in order of us to put together the resources within Livingstone in order to bring development.
It's one thing to know the challenges, to understand the challenges. What do you think you have that it would take to provide solutions to those challenges?
You see, if I was elected as MP, I've drawn up a vision. This vision that I've drawn up for Livingstone, it stands with the geographical existence of Livingstone. When you look at Livingstone, it's a small area which is about 30 kilometers all around from the center. So it's a small place which, if you need to bring in fast and rampant development, you can do it on what you already have. Livingstone, geographically, it's rich and gifted in such a way that there are certain things that already exist that we need to work on in order to develop Livingstone. Number one, when we look at Livingstone itself, having a radius of about 30 kilometers on our angles, we are going to look at the area, the outlining of Livingstone, that gives us space for us to run into agriculture. Okay. So the first aspect to develop Livingstone is the part of agriculture. In which way? I was looking at the youths, I was looking at the women that are in the compounds. When we look at the women and the youths that are not employed in the compounds, is that when we make farms in the compounds, we are going to make the youths, our mother, that still have energy to get into the gardens, get into the farm, to go and cultivate one thing, that is maize. Being in 2 years in Liberia, I went into a war-torn country which nothing was there, no electricity, no water, no buildings, no anything. But I learned how you can create a sustainable prosperity from nothing. Because what you need to do is to develop an area where it is able to sustain by itself. So when we look at agriculture, we are going to look in such a way that we produce the maize ourselves, grind it, and then later on sell it at 60 kwacha. But when we sell it, in the cost of selling, we remove what to buy for the seeds, and again we replant. But remember, there's a cost of the people that are supposed to be paid
labor
on the farm.
Will it be mechanized? I'm looking at it from a point of view that a lot of people that are not employed are younger people. Would they be receptive to being employed in the agricultural sector? The
intention is to kill two things: hunger and what? And poverty. Okay. So the poverty levels in the community are that the worst person is a hungry person. Sometimes you can be poor but have access to what? To food. So you'll be a happy person. Now we want to put in a structure that resonates with our geographical location as Livingstone. So we have these things that when all of us, we put them together, we fit them together, you see the productivity and the development of Livingstone generating to what is already there. The same cooperative, Stewardship, will be under one shelter looking at three things: tourism, agriculture, and the cross-border. So the other youthful person who feels can't go to the garden, that person will be engaged as an expert in tourism. What pains most is that we have not shown the world that this Victoria Falls, the Zambezi River, is actually in Livingstone. So you find that other countries are actually marketing it as if it is existing in their own countries. By so doing, what happens is that the benefits of the Victoria Falls are not actually impacting our community. Why? Because you find that companies that are actually in Livingstone, their banks and the movement of money is not actually direct into us. So we need to have people that have to raise up in Livingstone to understand, okay, number one, tourism in Livingstone, what are we talking about? It is unique in its own way. That's why we have travelers that are coming, where somebody comes in to say, no, we have many other falls in Zambia. No. That is a mistake. It is different. This falls is made in such a way that the origin of water is unique. The water becoming so plenty, it is unique. The falling of thousands of liters of water is unique. Then you are able to touch the river before it has fallen. You are able to go and touch the fallen river again at the boiling point. So you can't find such things in many areas in the world. We need to tell the world where the Victoria Falls is and exists by marketing the Victoria Falls through the embassies, by marketing the Victoria Falls through social media, by marketing the Victoria Falls through what? Sports tourism. We now need expertise. We need people that are going to come on board. Now, you are going to know that when we bring in or usher traffic of tourism in Livingstone, what happens now? There is big traffic. What have we done? We have told the world that the Victoria Falls is where? In Livingstone. What have we done? We have made direct flights from New York, direct flights from Europe and China, where? To Livingstone. So we have a traffic of people coming where? In Livingstone. So the traffic makes the taxi driver have money, the person with the kiosks have money, the restaurant to have money, the hotels to have money.
So the whole chain.
The whole chain now begins to open up.
Yeah. So a lot of people have said, especially the councillors, who I believe are in very much better contact with people, that participation of citizens is very, very difficult. What do you think will be the incentive to get people, Livingstonians particularly, to buy into the ideas that you have?
I don't think that is true. I have been in the communities of Livingstone. I've brought in this vision into the communities of Livingstone. And what we are only waiting for and expecting is for me to have the power as a member of parliament, because the engagement is already there. And when you go, you cannot talk about people who you are not seeing and who you are not mixing with. I have gone into the sawmills, I've gone into Malota, I've gone into Ngwenya. These people are there and they are ready. And so if you say that they are difficult to engage, I don't agree with that. Yes, the only thing is that...
Maybe they're receptive now because they know you're just aspiring. Because the flip side also is, after the elections, then the elected officials kind of disappear.
Do you know the reason why? Sometimes I always talk to the people within Livingstone. It's because, human beings, for example, where you are as a lady, you have a man proposes love to you and proposes marriage. He goes out with you, he dumps you. Then the second man comes, proposes marriage to you, he dumps you. Then the third one comes, again does the same, and you even go to church, become a praise and worship, and even intercessor. And also the guy at church also dumps you. Do you think when the fifth man comes, you are going to trust that man? No. You see, this is what it is with the community of Livingstone. Many of these councillors, mayors, and MPs, they went to them, engaged them in things that they told them they would do, but they never did those things. So when you go to engage them, it's difficult to say, we have already heard such stories which are nice like this. So you have to find a better way to tell them to say, this is a different. So you must be action what? Oriented. So it has to come with action in order for you to engage them, because they are wounded people. Okay. There are people that have been given these promises, but they were not done.
All right. So the role of MP is multifunctional. Is there any role you're particularly looking forward to playing? As a member of parliament, Your electorate will expect you to continue interacting with them as you've been or as you will be when campaigning. In Parliament, you'll be expected to debate laws, sometimes even initiate them. Also, as Member of Parliament, you belong to a political party. These roles, which one do you look forward to playing to the most?
My interest is the community of Livingstone.
Okay.
That is my interest. The reason why I'm getting into it is the community of Livingstone. And why I want to be involved in it, so that you see...
but even as you're saying that, because like I just said, yes, you will be engaged, but Parliament will also be pulling you, because we will need you as Livingstone constituents to debate, for instance,
that is
to
where,
be in committees.
That is where, as a community, as Zambians and in Livingstone, we do not look at the responsibility of the Member of Parliament. Are you aware that, like you have answered, that the Member of Parliament is needed like 70% in Parliament?
Yes.
And 30% to be seen physically in the community?
Yes.
It's because the Member of Parliament doesn't make a stewardship that I'm talking about.
So the stewardship is going to be your...
The stewardship will be your anchor of your vision, while you are physically not there. So you create a way of people carrying out your vision in your absentia. So you only come to say, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done that? So your works now will manifest without you being
necessarily being with the
there. So the problem is that the Member of Parliament wants to be there to bring in development, wants to stand by the grader, wants to stand by when people are digging to say he's the one that has brought. That is where the problem is. But when you create a community way of working together, they will know to say, this is the one pushing behind is the Member of Parliament. This is the vision of the MP. So whether they see you in Parliament, you'll be able to know to say you are engaged.
They'll still connect, like what they want at the local level is being carried forth at the national level.
Yes.
So key in your plan is how people are going to be receptive to the stewardship, because it will not be mandatory.
So what will be there that a small group will begin this. And when they begin, everyone will see and watch to say, this is what, then they'll be engaged. They'll be joining in. Meaning that they'll be healing from the other things that they were told and they were not done. So when they will engage them, so they'll not say, oh, this is working. And in the long run, all their minds, all their action will be involved into their stewardship. And everyone will be engaged because they'll know the benefits that lies ahead of it.
How long is it going to take for people to begin to see the fruits of the stewardship? Because you
it
only
will
have...
It will be visible. This one, it will be visible in 5 years. But for it to be under sustainable prosperity is 10 years, where it will not need the existence of Fenete. It will be carried forward from generation to generation because you have created something that is sustainable, not something where you have to exist for it to work. No, it is something, if you see the way it is working, it's something that begins to run and everyone carries on as vision bearers, so that when it begins to run, you move out.
You move away.
Then, yes.
Your final words?
My concluding remarks to the people of Livingstone is that in this time around where we are going towards elections, I request and ask the people of Livingstone and to all get involved by not actually getting into politics where you do not look at the people that you are pushing into offices, but to engage people that you know to say they are action-oriented and they are going to bring development into Livingstone. And I also want to say that in all these matters that we are talking about, there is God that has to be put in front of it, so that we'll be able to fulfill all these things in order for us to change and make a better Livingstone in the years to come. Thank you.
That was a very, very interesting discussion with an aspiring Member of Parliament for Livingstone Constituency. My name is Mwendalubi Maumbi. Do join us again next time. Thank you very much for coming through.
Thank you.
And on that note, we come to the end of today's episode of Local Pulse. As always, we would love to hear from you. If you have any comments or suggestions about the program, send them to localpulse@quadcommunications.org or call us on 0977 586 506. Thank you for your time.